Well, whenever I talk about being a kingdom man and illustrate it, what it is, then my reference point is my dad, because he feared God, not only in word, but in deed. He brought it home, and my mother became a fruitful vine because of his influence. I, along with my siblings, became olive plants that grew into trees, because around the table, he would instill spiritual values or remind us of biblical principles or teach us in the ways of the Lord. My father would hold a Bible study here during the week, and I would actually sit in on that Bible study that he would have, and I guess I'd be the youngest person there. So I became a student of his around our din table. As he was teaching others, I kind of was Joshua sitting in on it and taking it in, which in addition to the church helped excite me about learning more about the Word. But that was practiced here. When I went with my dad to the prisons or on the street corners, I was observing him because he was the one preaching. I was just handing out tracts. I watched the fervency and the fire and the excitement and the commitment and not being scared, hesitant, ashamed. So that was pretty powerful.
Well, you know, we stood on the corners and passed out tracts, and then we would go to the squares, and Tony would get on top of the cars and preach, and he wanted to be like Billy Graham.
I would use anything for a pulpit or a platform and just go for it. So I use a car for a platform, I use a step, I use a stool, I use whatever elevated me a little bit. So if the car was the only thing available, then the hood would do. I think it was just growing in me, even although I didn't know it was growing in me. I just found myself beginning to do it. So I think I just began parroting and began reflecting what I was observing, both when he was out preaching or when he was, at home with the family. I would just observe and saw that, and therefore began to emulate it. And we went to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, and I remember him creating such a love that when he had to work on Wednesdays, I would walk from here to the church, and that would be 4 or 5 miles, and either get a ride back or walk back just to be in Bible study, because I'd been raised that way. And then, of course, the national ministry that God has given us, I attribute back to that influence, which is what a kingdom man does. He commits himself to God, reflects God in his family, in his church, and in his society in such a way that it has generational impact. My favorite passage about being a kingdom man is Psalm 128, and it ends with seeing your children's children. So you know a man is a kingdom man when his grandchildren are following the faith fervently.